Welcome back to High Impact Flicks. And before we hit the intro, remember to always maintain a posture of situational awareness. Be aware of where you are and where others are stationed around you. Depending on your location, the chances of this happening to you are rare, but as people get more and more crazy, these rare situations will start happening more frequently. And yes, it's difficult to always remember to be aware of your surroundings, but had this guy been aware, he could have kept this from happening. Do not let this happen to you.
People ask me all the time,
Hey Brian, do you really use that keto elevate stuff and does it really work?
the answer is yes and yes. Never in my entire life have I lost body fat so quickly. Not even in my prime at 25, which is over 25 years ago. I'm approaching 54 this year. If you want to support the channel and do your health a favor, grab some with my link in the description.
Our pal in the White House, Joe Biden, sent out a tweet today. He said, "We are engaged anew in a great battle for freedom." You know, because it's all about freedom for geriatric, gun-grabbing psychopaths like creepy Uncle Joe. Am I right? I mean, he is a friend of Klaus, Fourth Industrial Revolution, Great Reset, You'll Own Nothing and Be Happy Schwab, so of course it's all about freedom. Freedom for the bankster class and bondage, food shortages, high fuel prices, and tyranny for the rest of us. He says, a battle between democracy and autocracy, between liberty and repression. This battle will not be won in days or months either. We need to steel ourselves for a long fight ahead. Why? Because long fights cost more money. Fill the coffers of the military-industrial complex. Pad the pockets of the defense contractors. Long fights empower the government and enslave those who vote for the government. So that's why they want a long fight. This is a government that foments racial divides and attempts to do away with the white race. And speaking of the white race, this lady's got a clue on what's going on.
Is causing white children to disengage with the curriculum and is harming not only their mental health but their life chances by harming their educational prospects. So, seeing as if all other races are allowed to represent themselves and the issues that their races have, I think that it's important, seeing as if our particular racial group happens to be the lowest group going on into university, has the lowest attainment, and this has been proven by the government who released a report, The Forgotten, this year about the white working class. So just like any other race, we are sticking up for our children and ensuring that they are included, that their mental health is considered.
But why don't you make an event instead of coming here and putting your flyer?
Because we, as white people, aren't allowed to talk about these issues. We're not allowed to story. We're not allowed to talk about race and the impact that these...
About class, right?
No, we talk about race. We talk about how this is impacting white children. It's not about class, because some of these white children are more economically disadvantaged than their black and ethnic minority peers. How can you say that a black boy who comes from a socioeconomically advantaged background is more or is less privileged than a white boy who's on free school meals? It's
different kinds of privileges as well.
No, there's no such thing as white privilege. There is such thing as socioeconomic privilege. But as a white student, as a white student, and like other white students, many of us are disengaged with the curriculum. When they talk about psychological harm, do they talk about the million white school children that have been raped in religiously and racially motivated offences by Muslim Pakistani gangs? What about our schools that ignore that? What about our schools that ignore the sexual assaults of white girls? Why do we not talk about these issues of race? Oh, because it affects the white community, and we're not allowed to talk about race.
I'm not interested anymore to talk about it.
Yeah, because you're not interested in the impact that it has on white kids.
No,
you're only
I just
interested
think
in
you're saying bullshit now. Like,
well,
you need to
why
have your
don't you check the
arguments
data
straight.
instead of just listening to Marxist propaganda?
Oh my god.
Have a look at the Forgotten report. Go online and have a look. Type in white disadvantaged working class education. Just type in that into Google and see what it comes up with.
I want to hear your reaction on what this lady said. Is she wrong? Is she right? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below. The Fraudmeister appeared on Neil Cavuto's show on Fox today, and he wants to let you know that you probably wouldn't even be here if you didn't bow down and take the final solution of the big farm guy. That one of the most dangerous things that you can possibly do in this world is to not submit to internalizing a product produced by a known fraudulent criminal organization. Let's take a listen.
You know, it's funny, Doctor, when I returned after being out in the ICU dealing with a pretty serious bacterial infection and, you know, something that I certainly didn't expect after being fully vaccinated to get COVID twice, and the last time, again, quite severe. Now, I'm not saying that to talk about me, but to talk about others who then questioned, well, if you've been vaccinated, Cavuto, and this happened to you, who's to say that it wasn't the vaccine that did it? Now, of course, I've talked to a lot of doctors. I got to talk to smart people like you who said that, you know, because of that, it could have been a lot worse for me. But again, there's a sort of a dark side coming out where a lot of people saying the vaccine wasn't and isn't worth it. It's no good. It almost kills people. And I just curious to get your response to that.
Yeah. Well, I think you know what my response is going to be, Neil, and I think you yourself know, but you're sophisticated enough that if you had not been vaccinated, Neil, you and I may not be having this conversation right now. Sadly, I'm so glad that you are here and we're having this conversation. But if you look at the data really are crystal clear and speak for themselves. If you look at the general population and look at hospitalizations and deaths and compare the vaccinated with the unvaccinated, or even more importantly, the vaccinated plus boosted with the unvaccinated, overwhelmingly the hospitalization and deaths are among the unvaccinated. You and several others in the population are in a different category, Neil, because when you are immune compromised, you really don't have the kind of natural response to a vaccine or even to a prior infection. And that's the reason why you're seeing us strongly recommend the boosters for people who are immune compromised. But the idea that the vaccine is causing harm here, the data overwhelmingly argue against that.
You hear that? The data overwhelmingly argues against what your eyes see and your ears hear. Never mind the fact that the companies that help produce that data wanted to hide specific information about the performance of their product for 3/4 of a century.
Can you get a little fraud with that? Well, of course you can. Of course you can get a little fraud.
Thanks for watching High Impact Flicks. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored Shadow Man video.